Hi everyone, this is Anna from Koala Soap, and today I'm going to be trying a soap with some embeds. And I kind of stayed up all night thinking about how to do it because I want it to look just right, but you know how things go around here. It'll go how it goes. I'm going to be using a tester mold because of this. If this turns out to be a great soap, of course I will be making a bigger loaf of it, but I like to do testers just to kind of make sure that it actually does look pretty good. I have everything marked off here, so this is always a good idea for your molds so that you don't, oh my gosh, how much did that carry? And then remember that just because this will carry 18 ounces of water, it's not the same, you know, it's an approximate measurement, just so you know. It'll probably be more like 19 or 20 ounces of water depending on the density of your melt and pour or whatever else you're using. So I just want to let you know that. I also have this marked off in 3 equal 1 and 1 1/4, I believe, little ticks here, just so I'll know how to put the embeds. I'm using the rose mold that we used not too long ago in another video, and I'm going to be using this other mold. It's a pretty thick fondant mold, and I like it. It's just that, you know, it's hard to figure out what you want to do with some of these molds when you get them. So I'm going to go ahead. I need to pour before these soaps get too clumpy on me. I am using tall green with shea butter from Stardust Mica, and I'm just using this one little leaf one right here. So I'm going to pour it. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to use our spatula trick. Oh, and I got a new spatula. I'm really happy about that. Kind of needed a new one too, but it doesn't come apart, so I'm going to have to order the kind of, that come apart on Amazon. So I'm going to take the spatula. We'll run it this way, run it that way. We'll squirt it with some alcohol, and we will set that one aside. The next one we're going to do is our rose mold. And I'm actually going to be using, not the largest one, I'm going to be using the 2 smaller ones. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pour it a little slower because there's lots of little nooks and crannies in there that a little air pocket could get stuck in. Not that it would be really noticeable because it is a small rose, but you know, it's just nice to make sure it's as perfect as possible. Okay, and when you overfill, it's not a big deal. You're going to do the same thing. Okay, and you're going to squirt it with alcohol. All right, and then we're going to set these aside and we'll be back to talk about the rest. Okay, and you'll notice this is still wet, and I save all the soap on the silicone mat. It's great because you can just peel it up and you can add it here later and use it for a later project. Now on to the leaf mold. There's the leaf mold, it comes out this way and it has that little curly Q at the end. And I've done one other thing is I cut the curly Q off because it kind of looked like, and I can't zoom in because once I start zooming in, you know, my camera gets really weird. So I kind of wanted to see how it looked like this without those curly Qs. And then I did one like this with the curly Qs. I like both. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I actually tried setting it in the mold. And here's all my other flowers I've already made. Because I kind of wanted to see how it looked. And so the other thing I do is I take these out. I just wanted to make sure I had enough and that they were placed nicely. And then I put this in, probably the middle, so that you can kind of see how it's going to set, or at the very top, that's fine too, since I'm going to be moving this around. And then I kind of want to see how it looks and how the spacing is going to be. And actually, it looks like the spacing is going to be okay. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, it's those lines are good. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably be leaving these just in case I decide to do something else. But it looks like we're going to keep the curly Q on and not cut it off at this time. So we'll go ahead and get those other embeds done, and then we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Now these are dry, so I'm going to go ahead and unmold them. And I'm going to put them in our little container with all of our other embeds. And we'll put these off to the side. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some titanium dioxide and some hot water because I'm going to take this base. I'm going to take this base and melt it down. I'm going to split it between the two and put the titanium dioxide in both of these to whiten it up. And then my plan is to pour a little bit of the titanium dioxide in and hopefully get a little bit of a swirl, though it probably won't happen, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try it this way. The reason I'm not sure it'll work is because this is so much larger than the little flower molds that we've been using. So we're going to give it a shot, and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing in both of these. And the reason is I'm going to pour one in, give it a few seconds or minutes, and then I'm going to pour the next one in because I'm hoping that maybe if I don't do a whole bunch at once, maybe we'll see a little bit more of a swirl, but I'm not quite sure it's going to happen. So let's go ahead and melt this down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have this completely melted down, and the temperature right now is 147. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have anything in there, so we're going to pour about half in this one. We'll see if we can get them close to. And we're using our funnel cups just because it's easier when we're pouring to try to get it to blend a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our titanium dioxide. Okay, so our titanium dioxide is in. I put in a little bit of the Amazon lily from Brambleberry, and we are at 132-ish. So I'm going to continue to just stir this. I do want this to be as cool as possible before we pour. That way it'll not blend as much into the pink that we're going to be putting in. So while I'm waiting for this to cool down, I'm going to take a dropper. This is the strawberry pink, I'm sorry, pink watermelon, sorry, that I was using for these embeds. So I'm going to take some distilled water. I'm going to pipe it in. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to add some more of this color. Let me wipe this down a little bit so I don't get water in there. I'm going to do a generous amount since I have the distilled water in there. Let's see if I need more. Maybe a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, that should be enough. I'll put that aside here and we'll stir this in. Okay, and then we will continue to stir these. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll come back when these are just a little bit cooler and we'll start our pour. Okay, so they're really starting to develop a skin, and they're both ironically at 123, so this is hopefully going to work. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take a pipette. I'm going to mix this once more. Okay, and I am going to give this a stir so it doesn't have a skin and doesn't go through. Bring up as much as I can, squirt it in hard. Now I'm going to do my coil once, done, pour. Yeah, I don't think it's going to swirl at all, but we'll see. We might luck out. of curiosity after that pour. 119, 120. Okay. Well, it's starting to get a good skin on it. Okay. We are going to now spray and let it sit. Okay, so this has a skin on it. I'm going to go ahead and spray. I'm going to spray this. I am using this little hole up here as my, oops, and I already dropped it the wrong way. That's okay. That little hole is going to be my center point. I try to just preset it out here, so I'm sure I have the 2 ways it needs to go. Okay. They're very slippery when they have alcohol on them. Try my best to keep it in my lines. That's a bigger one. Whoops, grabbed from the wrong side there. Okay, now. So this, I already have the rose, okay. Okay, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of clear melt and pour, and I'll just pour it over this, but these are, there's no need to do it on this one. This one's pretty much, these are there to stay. So the actual temperature of the soap is 105. It's still pretty fluid. I can tell it's like Jello right now when I'm touching it. This kind of mold doesn't need, as you remember, I would use Gavin's books to kind of help stabilize it, but it actually doesn't need it. I've noticed that the soap isn't bowing with this as I thought they were. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to go ahead and cool, then we'll go ahead and unmold, and we'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, we're back, and this is pretty much set, so we're going to go ahead and unmold it. A little bit of skin there that we'll get rid of. Okay, so that's how it looks. And then we're going to go ahead and do the cut. Do it right in between those flowers. Okay. Oh, look, we did. We got a little swirl in there. Okay, good. It's very subtle, which is probably good because of the design that we have. Okay, you have to get right in between. Okay, again, it's very subtle, very pretty. So now that I have these, I was kind of wondering, since I have all these extra roses, if it would look pretty if we put like an extra rose right here, which I think actually might look pretty. It might not be too much. It might, but it may not be. But you know what, why don't we just do it since we can? Looks like I only have two. Okay, so these are done. So what I am going to do is I'm going to just cut the little tips of these curlicues off for this part of the design. So I'm just going to cut a little tips off. It just seemed to look a little bit better. And what I did is I took some of the melt and pour that we had left over from the initial pour and I remelted it. There was just nothing but a little, very little bit left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position, I have time because that's really hot right now, how I want these roses. Oops. I'm getting glycerin on there. How I want these roses. So I'm just going to kind of fiddle around with it and see how I want the leaves. I guess that looks pretty good. Actually, let's see. I like how it kind of goes into there. So then this one might go like this. Okay, so that looks like how we're going to do it. So it's pretty hot. Let me see how hot it is before we do this. Okay, so this is at about, so 150-ish, 156. So I'm going to stir it up a little bit. And what I'm actually going to do is, because I need it to, I actually know exactly where I'm going to be putting it. I'm going to squirt this a little bit with alcohol here. And then I'm going to scoop a little bit here. It's going to slide around a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to squirt this one with alcohol. And then I'm going to take my scoop. So a little spoon is usually the best here. And it's nice that this is clear, so you're not really going to see too much going on. Okay, so that one is done. We're going to wait for that one to set. This one, same thing. We'll do that here. Put that on generously. And hold it for a second so it sticks. Same here. Okay, and then same here. And this is starting to thicken up quite a bit, so about 150 is a good rule of thumb there. Okay, we have a little bit sneaking off there. Okay, still wet. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and let these dry, and the soaps are done. Okay, so they're done, they're dry. I have all these embeds left, so stay tuned. But here's the top and here's the side. And they're stuck on, that's awesome. Okay, top and side. Okay, and they're actually kind of heavy, so I'm kind of curious to see what they weigh. Okay, let's see what their weight is. Okay, they're about 5.3 ounces, so they're a pretty good size. So that's if you cut them at 1 1/4 in your sample mold. But you know, I prefer doing it this way because then if you have a soap that doesn't do quite well, then you don't have 10 bars of it, you have 3. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this design, and we have all these embeds left, so we're gonna have to think of something. You guys have a great week.